Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am so happy that you have taken some time out of your day to learn about change management in the age of AI. My name is David Flack, and I am a senior marketing manager here at Bloomfire, and we have an incredible amount to get to in the next 30 minutes. So I will keep this brief. If you have a question during this webinar at any point, please do jot that down and submit it in the module here next to me. We'll do our best to get to them, but like I said, we do have a lot to get to in this time. If we don't have time to answer them, we will get back to you offline and follow up via email. And no slides today, but we have put together a nice little takeaway that you can download. Just click on that change management key takeaways link right below me, and that will kind of help you jog your memory from this conversation as you think back about how you can implement some of these strategies at your organization. So thank you again for being here. And I'm going to turn things over to Betsy Anderson, our head of customer success here at Bloomfire.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We are so glad to have you here as we nerd out about change management. Our guest speaker today is going to be Jessica McLaughlin. She is the training manager at Giltner Logistics. I've actually known Jessica since she first launched Bloomfire at her organization, and it was so clear from day one that she is a total pro when it comes to change management. Jessica, we're so glad to have you here. To kick things off, if you don't mind, share a little bit about what Giltner Logistics does and your role as the training manager, and then how that intersects with change management.
Sure. So thank you so much for having me. Giltner Logistics is an asset-backed third-party logistics brokerage. So we assist our world-class customers in finding the perfect carriers to transport their freight. And we take pride in making decisions that have the greatest positive impact on our employees, customers, partners, carriers, and communities. For me as a training manager, my responsibilities include things like instructional design, content creation, learning project management, the administration of our Bloomfire site, and class facilitation within our organization. I also heavily collaborate with our leadership team to drive those change management initiatives and empower our staff with the necessary tools and resources to navigate those transitions effectively.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, as I was saying a little bit earlier, it was so obvious to me when you were going through implementation that you are a total pro when it comes to change management. I loved the approach that Giltner took during the implementation process. So tell me a little bit about Giltner's approach to change management and some of the strategies that have proven most effective.
Sure. So at Giltner, we really value two things above everything else: fearless feedback and working smarter, not harder. So our industry is constantly evolving. We have to be adaptable and open to new strategies and technologies. So when approaching change, we do keep a couple of different things in mind. So first, we prioritize frequent and transparent communication across multiple channels to ensure that our messaging is clear, concise, and well received. We actively seek feedback from our employees every step of the way and provide options for anonymous surveys to address any concerns that they might have, but they're kind of a little bit afraid to share. We establish clear project management timelines to ensure that everyone involved understands their roles and deadlines. We like to do things like task forces, workshops, and pilot programs with smaller groups of employees who can better represent their peers and act as peer mentors. Big one for me is ensuring that ample training and resources are provided before fully implementing any initiatives. Conducting follow-ups and check-ins after the rollout to gauge that employee satisfaction and make any necessary adjustments. And then the big one also is just establishing key performance indicators and continuing to evaluate our progress as we move forward.
Absolutely. What I love about your approach is how comprehensive it is. I feel like so often when we're trying to implement change, we just tick the boxes, but you guys do such a great job of doing this really by the book. You handle things like bringing in the right partners, making sure that you're making the transition easy as possible for people, and then measuring success. So that's, to someone like me who's a nerd about this stuff, it's an absolute delight to hear just how comprehensive and how thoroughly you guys handle change management. Something I was curious about is when this doesn't work, when you run into challenges with your change management practices, or if you have particular issues with a change, how do you address those challenges? What are some strategies that have worked?
Sure. I think in my professional career, I think really in most people's professional careers when they've tried to implement change, I've encountered both active and passive resistance to change, and then that lack of follow up and follow through. So I personally strongly believe that fear is a major reason when you come up against that resistance to change. Usually when change is on the horizon, employees may have some concerns or questions along the way. So first off, when introducing a change, I like to focus my messaging on the positive outcomes that the change can bring rather than the negative reasons necessitating it. If individuals or groups are struggling, I like to meet with them to address their concerns and ensure they have the understanding that the change is really meant to enhance the fantastic work that they're already doing. A big one too is it's really important to make sure that your leadership team is fully aligned on the messaging to avoid confusion for already fearful team members, right? And then honestly, like there's always going to be some employees who remain skeptical until they see the full benefits of the change initiative. With those people, it's important to remember to follow up with them and provide that support while still giving them that additional space to adapt on their own.
That's great. You mentioned something that I think is worth double clicking on. You referenced people who are passively opposed to change and then people who are actively opposed to change. Can you distinguish between those a little bit just so that we know what to look for?
Of course, yeah. So the active resistance to change are your outspoken employees who are just flat out like, nope, not going to do it. I don't like this. This is going to impact my ability to do what I do. Why do we need to do this, et cetera, et cetera. We love those people because they're at least telling us exactly how they feel so they can address it. But with passive resistance to change, you have those people that you say, okay, what questions do you have? And they're like, none, everything's fine. And then you go into your key performance indicators and you see that they're not interacting with the change and it's not being implemented by them. And you follow up with them and you ask those questions and you're just kind of getting the smile and the nod, everything's fine, when you know it's not fine. And you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper in those cases with your open-ended questions and really kind of work a little bit harder to get to the bottom of what the resistance is there.
Yeah. Another thing you said that I think is worth calling out is fear is the reason why so many people are resistant to change. Something that we say on my team a lot is change management is the people side of process improvement, and people mean complexity, right? So this is as much a psychological problem as anything else. So something I'd love to dig a little deeper into is what are some strategies that you use to ensure that people feel prepared and supported during times of change? Since this is a fear-based reaction a lot of times, how do you kind of alleviate that fear?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I really like to seek to understand the perspectives of all the departments that are going to be affected and really incorporate them at the ground level in my case study. So then I can make sure that the change aligns above and beyond everything else with our company's core values, because if it aligns there, everything else tends to fall into place a little bit more. And I like to collaborate with leadership to plan the rollout and communication strategy so that it's a little bit more architected instead of just rolled out however we feel like in that moment. It just kind of makes it feel a little bit more organized to alleviate that stress around it. Conducting ongoing focus groups, like I mentioned earlier, with representatives from each affected department to serve as liaison for their peers, I find is really valuable. And then I like to assemble a small group of subject matter experts to thoroughly test and learn every aspect of the new process so they can advocate for the change and really also poke holes in it to kind of find the blind spots that we might not be seeing right off the bat. Because if we're all about a change, sometimes getting that other person in to say, this is not going to work and here's why, is so important. And then from there, just maintaining that open and transparent communication every step of the way. Then from the resource standpoint, which I think is so important to alleviate that fear, I like to start with an e-learning course first so that every employee receives the same message and is introduced to the change at their own pace and kind of in their own little space. And then I like to also, with the e-learning, roll out a comprehensive quiz where employees are asked to explain what they've learned in their own words, which will help me and the leadership team really gauge kind of the understanding that they have from that. Then we follow up usually with virtual training sessions to further educate the groups on the change, fill in any gaps, address any questions, and gather feedback. From there, making sure that those standard operating procedures and quick reference guides are ready to go and easily accessible in Bloomfire for future reference is great. This way, no one's having to memorize everything the first time. They can revisit things over and over again. And then KPIs, following up at that 30, 60, 90 days right after the change and making adjustments and remaining flexible in the process, I find is really kind of the best way to make sure that they feel supported.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that these tips are both really practical in that, here are some tools that you can leverage to make this process easier, make it more systemized, but also more fluffy, more difficult to put your finger on, but just as important, sort of figuring out that employee experience, leveraging the people who can be advocates, understanding, if there are folks who aren't on board, how to get them on board. So making it as much about the employee experience as it is about what tools you use to press this process on a little further. Something I wanted to double click on here is, how are you measuring and defining that employee experience? Is this something that you send out surveys? What are some tips you have on how to get that honest feedback?
Great question. So employee experience is huge with us, and we feel that employee experience is really defined as the way that an employee feels about working with us throughout their entire tenure, starting from when they apply for the role. So we measure this in several ways, and it's really just a series of questions that we're constantly asking ourselves. And some of those questions are like, what are they telling us when we ask for feedback? Are they telling us anything when we ask for feedback? Because if someone's not giving you feedback, good or bad, that's a good indication that their employee experience is not really what you want it to be. Then what does their performance indicate? Are they engaging with our knowledge management system? Are they meeting and exceeding their metrics? If not, what kind of support are we offering them? Are we just kind of letting it skate by, or are we really working with our people? Did we provide a positive experience during their recruitment and onboarding? Do we offer a quality workplace with all the tools and resources that they're going to need to succeed? Do we have those strong company culture and values where everybody knows and stands behind our values? Big one for me, this is my favorite thing in the world to ask, is, do we have a clear, concise role clarity? Can our employees definitively tell us what their roles and responsibilities are and how what they do impacts the greater organization? Do we provide those comprehensive learning and development opportunities that really empower our employees and provide them with that additional support? What does our meeting schedule look like? Are we offering regular meetings, feedback? Are we actively listening to our employees' needs? Do we offer that great work-life balance that everybody really wants out of a role? And then lastly, do we have multiple opportunities for employee engagement and really show appreciation for those achievements? We ask ourselves and our staff those questions constantly to really make sure that we're providing the best possible experience.
Absolutely. A couple of things that really stick out to me there is, on the one hand, you are taking the employee experience and making it larger than just this change, how they feel about this change. It's the bigger picture. How do they feel about working here? Do they feel heard? And then another piece that you called out, which I think is so critical, is making sure that people feel aligned, or at least understand the bigger goals and the bigger initiatives at the organization. So kind of jumping on that, sometimes the larger goals and the larger initiatives for the organization mean that a change has to happen, right? It's inevitable, maybe despite the fact that most employees don't want that change. So how do you balance both providing a positive experience for your excuse me, for your employees, but also the fact that this change has to happen. And how do you make sure that throughout that time, they still feel heard and valued, even if the organization has to go against what they're feeling and what the feedback is that they're giving you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, you have to approach change with care. That's essential to really maintaining that positive employee experience. If you're doing everything you can to give it a good, positive employee experience and have a rich culture at your company when you're not trying to roll out a change, really lays the foundation for a little bit more flexibility with the staff. I think first and foremost, beyond that, you really have to make sure you're not overwhelming your teams with too much change at once. That's going to lead to a ton of uneasiness and resistance. And like we talked about earlier, right? People who are resistant to change are often acting out of fear, lack of trust, and that lack of confidence. I think the best way to address this is really by alleviating those feelings as much as possible. You can't always alleviate them 100%, but doing your best to build trust and faith in that leadership team is really crucial. For us, that really means listening to our employees, empathizing with their concerns, and presenting the changes as a solution to all of our shared challenges. It's really also important to demonstrate the benefits of the change. I can't speak enough about championing it. Everybody's got to champion it at the leadership level and lead by example, and then regularly check in with your employees to gauge their adjustment. While every employee, you have to be okay with not every employee is going to immediately embrace it, but providing them that space to see its benefits over time can lead to that greater adaptation and acceptance. And at the end of the day, if we never ever get there, it might just not be the best culture fit.
Yeah, that's great. I'm over here just nodding away. If I could, I'd just preach. This is some good stuff. A couple of call outs there that I just want to underscore, and I guess that's my job today, is just, did everybody hear what Jessica said? But a couple of things that you spoke to is change. I'm paraphrasing here, but change isn't happening in a vacuum. It's building on a foundation of the relationship that you've already established with your employees. So making sure that they trust you, making sure that they know that you are empathetic to their plight and what they're going through, and making sure that that communication is transparent. Those are kind of those critical things, but also knowing that that change isn't just, it's not, we're not making moves to impact just this change, because change is going to happen all the time. So it's building that solid foundation really relationally with your employees to have that foundation of trust, and treat resistance to change for what it is, which is a feeling, right? It's psychological. So kind of taking that in mind, sometimes change can be assisted with the help of technology, right? So it is something that's feelings, but it's also something that we can leverage technology today to help kind of propel change. So I'm curious, what are some ways that technology, whether it's AI or knowledge management systems, any other communication tools, what are some ways that you've leveraged them to improve that employee experience and to set your folks up well for change?
I really have to speak the most to our experience working with you all at Bloomfire and the implementation of our knowledge management system. It's been completely transformative for us. So initially, when I first came on, we were storing our resources on a Google site, which is great, but it made it a little bit difficult to find what we needed, especially under those tight deadlines. So with Bloomfire, we expanded our content from approximately 70 resources to over 470 different articles, which has completely significantly broadened the variety of content available to our teams. Our site hosts our e-learning courses, videos, surveys, quizzes, you name it. If it can go in there, it's in there, which has also helped us eliminate the need for a traditional LMS and one other piece of technology on top of all of the other technology our team is using. This has also provided our employees with content that caters to all of the learning styles, which just, again, makes it more accessible and cuts down on that fear element of things. And then from a learning and development perspective, our Bloomfire site has been my most critical tool. We've actually reduced our onboarding time to 1/3 of what it used to be without compromising the quality of our training experience. And that's not even an exaggeration, it's literally 1/3 less. Because our focus has been able to shift from you have to memorize everything as a new hire in training to understanding the basics, knowing where to find the information that you might not even come across for 6 months, and then gaining that practical application experience with training support. So as a result, our new hires are more successful, and they have that feeling of less pressure to be perfect, which has helped kind of set them all out right off the bat from eliminating that fear and being a little bit more open. And then the positive experience we've had from our new hires and our team speaks volumes and really highlights the significant impact that everything that Bloomfire has done has really enhanced on our employee experience.
I love hearing that. I love that stat, 1/3. That makes me so happy. So what I really hear you saying here is we've made our tools be the way that we can practically support people or deliver tools, deliver resources that help support the change. So it's almost like there's the psychological side, and then there's the deliverables, and the technology that you're leveraging is really helping provide those, stake in the ground supports for your teams. That's awesome. So on the flip side, though, you did mention that there are lots of technologies that you're working with, lots of different tools. And sometimes I assume that those tools can be a detractor for change as much as enhancing change. So I'm curious to know, how do you ensure that implementing AI and other knowledge management technologies enhance rather than detract from the employee experience?
So our success, at least with our knowledge management site, has really been in limiting the number of content authors. This has kept our content really concise and has avoided the redundancy. If you prefer having those diverse voices, not a problem whatsoever, but appoint a key administrator who really knows every article in your system to ensure that cohesiveness. So that when employees need to find information quickly, encountering multiple articles with different messages on the same topics can be really overwhelming and devalue your site altogether. And then that confusion can lead to mistakes or wasted time seeking managerial help, just like with any other technology you're trying to implement. You don't want to have 100 different things that do the same thing. You want to have a few things that do that thing really well. For me, also, keeping your content up to date is crucial. Outdated articles really undermine that perceived value of information. I personally, when Betsy brought us on, she showed me the scheduling tool for Bloomfire that helps you get notifications of when to update your content. I use that in every single article. I'm also a nerd, and I like to catalog every post and assign myself a portion each month to review, refresh, and bump. So that really helps us. And then I just have to say too, if you are using AI authoring, which is great, just make sure you review the content because it can make mistakes. And then that robotic sounding content can take away from that human connection. And that can cause a little bit of strife with the people trying to consume the information as well.
Yeah, absolutely. AI is never intended to replace that human touch. Ideally, we just want it to help us improve our productivity, right? That's great. So looking ahead, if we're looking into the future a little bit, how do you see the role of digital transformation evolving, say, in the next few years? And what impact do you expect that will have on the employee experience?
So I believe that digital transformation, honestly, is going to continue to evolve and reach places I can't even imagine right now. I don't think that it has to render the element of human obsolete. If I think about it, and this is me kind of dating myself, but that's okay. So growing up, I had to go to the library and sift through microfiche to research topic for reports. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was not fun. It took forever to find what I needed, right? And then Microsoft and Carta came along, and it was like, I was totally blown away. I never imagined that it would be that easy to find information. And now we blinked and we have endless knowledge at our fingertips. So digital transformation on a positive side has already saved us so much time and made us significantly more productive. If we embrace the benefits of really working smarter, not harder, and continue to push the important role of our employees in collaboration with that digital transformation, I think we can alleviate those concerns that the impact in technology will have on our future jobs. And then by doing so, I think that we can continue to enhance on our employee experience.
I think so too. So, all right, last question. What advice would you give to other managers looking to enhance some of their change management practices and improve the employee experience at their organization? And it can be some things that we've spoken to kind of underscore it, or even new things.
I think when discussing change management best practices, anytime I do any sort of leadership training or workshops, I like to emphasize the importance of involving the team in the change process as much as you can without just imposing it on them. Change within an organization should always aim to improve both the business and the employee experience. To enhance that employee experience, you have to understand what their current employee experience is. If you don't understand it, there's no way that you can sell them on it. It's just like everything that we do as leaders is like sales. You have to meet them where they are and then take them where you want them to go. So once you have gotten their buy-in, I have to say there's 3 crucial factors that really can make or break it. First one, you got to make it enjoyable. Generate excitement through fun teasers, naming contests, launch parties, or any interactive activities that you can do. I personally love Kahoot to familiarize the staff with new features and policies and kind of generate that kind of constructive competition between the teams. You've got to provide the ample resources. Don't provide resources after you've rolled something out. Provide them before you've rolled something out, so you're setting them up for success and making them feel confident and well-equipped. And then my biggest one, you have to champion the change. That leadership team has to lead by example and wholeheartedly support the change, or it will not work. You never want the message to be, this is what we're doing because I was told by my boss I had to do it. We're all a leadership team. We're all in the same team. We all have to champion that. And if anyone has reservations, have them speak up and address that early on to ensure that full support.
Awesome. Jess, this was so great. Thank you so much for joining today and sharing your expertise and years of experience. I know that our listeners are going to get a lot out of it. Yeah, so I guess from there, I guess we can hand it on over to David, but thank you everybody who joined us today. This was a blast.
Yeah, I promised a tremendous amount of content and we got through it in 28 minutes. I think that leaves time for just one question, so I apologize to those that submitted. We won't be able to get to all of them, but just for you, this question's for you. So can you discuss how Giltner measures success of a change management initiative? What key indicators are you looking for to assess the impact?
So it really depends on what the change initiative is, but I'll use our Bloomfire rollout as a kind of example in this one. For us, first and foremost, we did a lot of rollout surveys beforehand to kind of gauge what the employee experience with knowledge management was first. And then we did surveys after we rolled it out to see what the employee experience around the knowledge management was at that point. Bloomfire has tons and tons of analytics, so I could really gauge how much people were interacting with the content, how many people were logging in every single day with it, how it was going. And then the other big thing was measuring what the turnaround for new hires were for me as opposed to what it was before we had that. And then how much time, I'm constantly checking in with my boss, how much time was devoted to question answering before versus now, just with all of the knowledge that we had in our fingertips. So we kind of look at it from as many angles as possible, gauging the employee experience, the manager's experience, and how it's impacted our training overall.
Great. Yeah, those are all really good indicators, obviously, for the Bloomfire project. Those are all things that that we hold dear and near to our hearts. So thank you so much again, Jessica, Betsy. Really great job ending right on time here. So wishing you all a great rest of your week. This is recorded, and so in a couple hours you'll see the email, so you can watch this. You can share it with your colleagues if you so choose. And looking forward to having you join us on the next one. Thanks again, Jess, Betsy, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.